welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is TheMeshaBrand. If you're not, thank you so much for tuning back in and welcome to Vlogtober, bitches. I'm so excited to be doing Vlogtober. I thought it was very fitting, more than fitting, for my first Vlogtober video to be a makeup video because I'm a makeup girly and I feel like this is content that I don't post on my channel enough. Like, I need more makeup. Like, I love talking about makeup. I work in makeup. I have been in the industry for the past 10 years, so it's really just something that I enjoy talking about. But sometimes I feel like I can nerd out about it, so I'd be like, let me not do too much, but I think it's time to do too much. So there will be a couple of makeup videos throughout this Vlogtober series. Please don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss Vlogtober uploads. Please don't forget to smash the bell notification so that you're notified when I do upload my daily upload for Vlogtober. I'm saying daily, but like, if I miss a day, please give me grace. As you can tell from the title of the video, it is a very fall-esque makeup vibe, but like grown woman fall. We're not blasting hella orange everywhere just because it's fall. We wanted to make it everyday wearable. So I went with like a very like, this has kind of been my makeup look lately. Very clean girl, very like grown woman aesthetic, very everyday wearable. So yeah, I wanted to be able to showcase that to you guys. So if you're curious to see my monochromatic fall clean girl makeup look, then just keep watching. Okay, so step number one is always to just go ahead and get my hair out of the way. So I'm just putting clips in my hair, so I don't have to worry about getting makeup in it. Step number two for me is always reward myself for that mini step and have a sip of coffee. Okay, so if you have oily or dry skin, you definitely want to address all of your skincare concerns before you start to go in with makeup. My skin's already moisturized. I tend to have more drier, like normal to dry skin. So then I'm just gonna go ahead in with my primer. So I'm gonna be using the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, which, as you already probably know, is a dupe from the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. So I just pretty much put it in like my T-zone areas. If you know, you know. This is a product that like has a lot of spreadability, and a little bit goes a really long way. So for me, just putting it in those areas of the face helps me ensure that it, see, this is why we gotta put that hair out of the face. Just helps me ensure that I can get it and spread it evenly all over my face. It's important for all of my skin to have primer on it, so I just kind of go in. And I'm weird, I don't know anybody else who does this, but I like to do this to my primer just to kind of like really press it into the skin, because the better that your primer is sitting, like the better it's gonna, the makeup will adhere to your skin. So I just kind of go over and really press it into the skin. It's gonna feel sticky. That's kind of like the whole zhuzh behind this product, is that it's sticky, but the stickiness is supposed to make sure that it sticks, that the makeup really, you know, like sticks to your skin. That's kind of like the thought process behind like a sticky lip gloss, is like if it's sticky in texture, then it will kind of like adhere to the skin well. So now that our primer is on, I'm gonna go in with the first product. Now typically you would assume for it to be foundation, but I actually have not been wearing foundation, so this is going to be a foundationless makeup application. So next I'm gonna go in with my Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Awakening Concealer. I've been using this concealer lately and I really like it. I'm gonna show you guys. It has this like interesting little it has like a really interesting little paddle, because it's kind of like petite but it's wide, and I really like the doe foot on this. So yeah, I haven't been wearing foundation. I don't really know why. I think I just like a more natural look. I'm just kind of going in and putting like little triangles on the inside, and then I leave a space and kind of like pull up to lift the face up. So yeah, I don't know. I've just been liking lesser coverage. So if I do wear foundation, a lot of times it is something more sheer. If you guys want to see what that looks like, obviously just let me know and I'll be sure to make a video for it. I always put a little bit concealer here because I don't know if it's a stash shadow or if it's hyperpigmentation, but I do be having a little some up here, so I like to put a little concealer. Something else that I've been doing lately is just kind of like letting my makeup dry down for a little bit. It's just about taking extra steps to make sure that these products really blend well with the skin. So like giving my concealer a little bit more dry down time, and I'm like expediting the dry down time with the fan. Just kind of gives it a chance to set more immediately once I spread it, because I've kind of like cut that dry down time in half. So I'm just blending. I really like a patting, or I guess if it was a brush you would call it like a stippling, but having that extra layer of pressure with every bounce, to me, like, is me pressing that product again into the skin. The inner corner is always so hard because I'm trying to focus on like maybe having my under eye be as smooth as possible, so I tend to look up a little bit to really get into those creases that I wouldn't have access to if I was like looking straight on. So I'll do things like tuck my lip or like look up to kind of spread that under eye area a little bit more like flat. So the Makeup by Mario concealer is totally applied. While I don't use a foundation, I do use two concealers. So we're gonna go on with the second concealer, which is just my OG NARS concealer. Oh shoot, I forgot to tell y'all which shade. So in this concealer, I'm in shade Caramel. So as you can see, it's like 1.5 to 2 shades lighter than my skin tone. And in the Makeup by Mario concealer that I used previously, I'm a shade 540, which is interesting because that's not the same color as my foundation shade. So I wouldn't think it's like a 1-to-1 if you're shopping. With this concealer, I really just am using it to create a little bit more of like a highlight under eye or like in my T-zone areas. But I'm doing it kind of strategically so that it'll kind of be more ombre faded in, if that makes sense. So like wherever I put the concealer at before, I'm using less, and I'm really concentrating it right in the center of where I put that concealer at previously. This one, I think it's really important for it to dry down because I really just want like a wash of lightness. I don't want it to be full impact. So if I get to spreading right now while it's super wet, it's gonna be everywhere. Like it's gonna have more spreadability, and I actually want it a little bit more concentrated. Like I want there to be like my skin and then the skin tone color concealer, and then ease into a small concentration of this lighter concealer. So I'm gonna actually dry it down for quite some time. Okay, perfect. See, now it's like not too much pigment when I'm blending it in. It's like literally the perfect amount of pigment. And I bring this down, but I do try to like keep it more so concentrated in the middle. So what I'll do is, let's say my sponge is getting pretty saturated with this product, I'll kind of like rotate my sponge to a part that maybe doesn't have as much product to be able to blend it out and have it kind of ease back into that color for a really pretty gradient. I like to use kind of all parts of the sponge. Like I'll use the butt of the sponge if I need a clear surface area. Like I will kind of use any part. So we're nice and blended. Concealer is laid down. I need my concealer to stay put, so I'm gonna be going in with the One Size translucent powder. It's just the Patrick Star, his brand translucent powder. I have like a go-to powder that I use, but I've been seeing everybody talk about this powder, so I definitely want to give it a try. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my little powdering triangle here. Grab some product, and for me, this is the part that I think is really important. I do this thing where I like stretch out my under eye before laying the powder, because that way it's smooth, there's no creases. So when I lay the powder, when the creases do come, it's powder rubbing against powder, so you don't get like a weird crease in your under eye, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does, but I'm gonna show you. So I'm gonna stretch my eye out by looking down. You can kind of see I'm just kind of like smoothing any creases that were previously there. And now we freeze. When you apply the powder, you're essentially freezing it. So freeze that under eye area. And I'm not one for like hella baking. I like more of like a luminous, please. That's crazy. Sorry. Literally amazed by this powder. I need to get a little bit more. I'm pretty conservative about how much powder I like in the reservoir itself, like that houses the powder. Because I hate when you open it, it's just like a big mess. Like, please, I don't want all that powder everywhere. So I try to be a little conservative, but that was just crazy. That was magic, actually. The way it just was like hyper blurred like that. Now I see why the girlies was like, y'all need this powder. I was like honestly a little apprehensive at first because I'm like, translucent, you ain't about to have me on camera looking crazy with hella flashback. But I actually have another step in case is giving white casty, but it's really not giving white casty if I'm being honest. The only thing is like the powder be struggling to come out of here. That's frustrating. Alright, now let's try it because I just banged it up against the wall. Okay, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And I just obviously just put the powder, not obviously, because if you're watching this, maybe it's not as obvious. But you really just want to put the powder anywhere where you put the concealer, really just to kind of like reinforce it. Now, I do like a natural nose, but I also like a snatch nose, if that makes sense. So I am gonna put powder on my nose, and then I'm gonna kind of show y'all what I do. There might be a little bit too much powder on my nose for me, so we're gonna take some of this off. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay. I just need the existence of powder there, but I didn't need it to be crazy. Now, because I like my nose to be a little bit more, you know, snatched, I'm gonna go in and just create one singular line. Right here. So that's gonna sit there on top of the powder while I'm doing the rest of my steps. Makeup is set, powder is set. The very next step is to introduce contour. What I really like about this whole like clean girl aesthetic has been the introduction of different formats. So we're not just using powders, we're using creams, we're using liquids. So I have a little hack. I will be using the Color Stay Skin Awaken concealer. I have it in a shade that will be like my perfect contour shade instead of getting my perfect concealer shade. And I obviously use it as like a Charlotte Tilbury face sculpting type of dupe. So I'm gonna show you, I don't use a lot of product. That's kind of the key here. So I'm gonna go in 1, 2, 3 dots, as you can see. And then now I'm just gonna blend. Blending. And so I kind of use this as like a guiding line right here. I usually blend above that. It kind of gives you a little bit more of a chisel if you kind of reserve this area. Now what you want to do is keep that sponge handy, because when the cream mixes with the powder, sometimes it can be a little weird. Like the texture doesn't have as much glide, as much slip to blend. So you definitely want to be coming in with your sponge to help blend the powder and the liquid. Most people, what they would do is just like not introduce, I guess, the powder with the liquid, but I'm comfortable enough in my skill set where like I'm fine to do this. So 1, 2, 3 again, and then you kind of stipple so you can control where it spreads to. I kind of just like use that brush technique to let me know where to stop blending at. But a lot of stippling motions to really blend, and then you can always come in with your sponge to blend out more. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing on my forehead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got a 5 head, so That makes sense if I'm putting about 5 dots. And then same thing, you're gonna blend, 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 blend. You're blending into oblivion. You just don't want to see, harsh lines are like the anti-makeup. You don't want any lines of demarcation. So after you kind of blend, you can use the sponge to reinforce a seamless blend. Cool. Now I'm going to show you what I do with my nose. I take a smaller but similarly dense brush. Again, as I told y'all, I do like a more defined, you know, chiseled type of vibe. So I just kind of take this and blend down. Same thing here, kind of like right above the front of my brow, and then blend down. So that's living there before it gets, you know, too settled in. I go ahead and blend that out. But there should be enough product for you to carry down the, you know, the side of the nose. Same thing on this side. And then we're just carrying this down the side of the nose. And blending. About here is kind of where I will blend this harsh line out. I don't like wait until the absolute end. And then I just kind of like, maybe if there's a harsh line from the contour that I laid, I will also kind of like blend that out. I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows off camera. I don't know what it is, but it's very difficult to focus and try to execute on camera. But I'll show you the products that I will be using. I'll be using this, the Refi Brow Sculpt in the shade Clear. It's really just like a clear holding gel. And then I'll also be using the Anastasia Brow Pen in the shade Dark Brown. So, be right back. Okay, I'm back. Brows are done. So now when I do my brows, I take the concealer and I kind of just like pull it down some. It gives me a great canvas to have like the concealer serve as like a little bit of eyeshadow primer. I'm just putting a little bit here just in case I need it. But honestly, sometimes I will use the eyeshadow primer. If I do use an eyeshadow primer, I'm always using the Anastasia eyeshadow primer. It is such a great canvas, and it's like a very light color, so if you have deeper complected skin like myself, it gives your shadow like a little bit of pop so that it stands out a little bit more. One thing about it, two things for sure, I'm always gonna give you makeup from the perspective of a black woman or deeper complected individual, because that's just my lens and it's my reality, and it's the only thing I know how to talk about is this, my life. So I'm actually gonna be using my Jackie AINA palette. If you know, you know. I actually was working for Anastasia when this palette launched. I'll be going in first with the shade Ginger. Ginger I love because all of the shades here are very, I think this palette launched in the fall if I can remember correctly, but all the shades here are very like, very fall-esque, very autumn vibes. So I'm gonna start with Ginger. And what I typically do is kind of like place the shadow first in a patting motion, and then I'll kind of get to blending up. This is gonna kind of serve as like my transitional shade, so I'm essentially blasting this everywhere with the exception of like the brow bone. I do like to leave that area blank, so I'm also gonna take a little bit more Ginger, load my brush up, and apply on this side. Again, same motion. I'm just gonna start by like really setting the powder, laying it there first. And this is also kind of how you prevent having hella fallout. Like if you just lay the brush down and then just get to blending as soon as you touch your brush to your skin, it has the more potential to kind of like blast a little bit of everywhere. But if you kind of press it into the skin first and then start blending, you find that you're gonna have more like, you're gonna retain more color payoff in that way. So when I say transitional shade, it is the shade that, because if I just went right in with like a bright color, it wouldn't blend with my skin. So you want a shade that kind of like helps the shadow that you're using, the main shadow, like transition into that. So transitional shade. So like you can see I like pressed it into the top of the brow bone, like right into my brows to look as natural as possible. Now I'm gonna go in with edges. Edges is like our main autumn shade that we're gonna be using for this monochromatic look that we're doing today. So same type of deal. I'm gonna press edges into the skin. I'm gonna flip my brush over and do the same. And now we're gonna blend. And so I'm a little bit more concentrated with this blend. I'm also going back over the lid because I don't want to have like a look where it looks like I tried to like focus the shadow only on my actual lid, where the clean girl look is very like blast a wash of color over the whole eye. So this is kind of like what we end up with. Ooh, she's cute. I love this type of application that we're doing because it's very everyday wearable. It's not like we going to the club. It's very like you could wear it to the office and nobody's like, oh my god, what do you have going on when you leave here? You know what I mean? Like they're like, I love just kind of blasting a wash of color over the eye. It's very like grown woman makeup. It's very like, you know, not doing too much, but it's doing what it needs to do. That's kind of like what the vibe is with this one wash of color. It's like, you know, she's sophisticated. She doesn't need to do her makeup in a way that's very attention getting. She is the highlight and the makeup just kind of complements the look. Is that what it's giving? Comment down below if that's what it's giving. Don't comment no ratchet shit either. That's it for the eye look. I do need a lash brush though, because I could tell that I like kind of shifted my lashes. Anyways, like I said, monochromatic. So next, now that like literally eye is done, with the exception of, wait, hold on, because I do need to put my little eyeliner on. I use Dark Side by Anastasia. It's literally just like a basic black pencil, but it's water resistant. And my under eye isn't like, it doesn't water, but like sometimes it acts humid. Sorry, I can't talk during this part, but I'm just like literally tight lining my under eye. I have small eyes, so like sometimes I'll use white, but sometimes I do like the look of black. Nothing crazy. We're not like smoking it out to the gods. I don't know. I'm like, do I want something at the bottom? I think I want to keep it clean, girl. I'm not gonna put anything at the bottom. I like to, next obviously will come mascara. I'm literally, for my bottom lashes, I just use this Maybelline Lash Sensational Sky High Lash mascara. What I've learned is that I'd like to wait till after I spray and then do my mascara, because whew, we laid our powder, right? But it's very yellowy, which for some people that's the vibe, like that's the look that they want. For me, I'm gonna introduce another powder. This is a Mineralized Skin Finish in Dark by MAC. Very OG product. But I've been pulling it back out lately because I think that it does a really good job. I'm just gonna use this like really fluffy small brush, and I'm just kind of like glazing across, you know what I mean? Like just grabbing a little bit of product, not too much, but this is like my shade that I need for like a highlight underneath the eye, and it kind of brings that like warm tone back into the face. So I'm just kind of going over anywhere where I set that translucent powder to give it a more skin toned look, so we're not just kind of like, you know, got this like hyper yellow going. I don't think that's like, sometimes that gives a little childish, like when the highlight is just a little too light. That's really not the vibe. Maybe not childish, let me not say that, but like that doesn't really resonate with my personal style and like my personal aesthetic. I like something that looks a little bit more natural. So if you're like me and you like, you know, a zhuzh, but you want to keep it more natural, more like appropriate for everyday wear, I definitely will recommend introducing like a sheer baked or pressed powder to kind of like retonalize everything back to like your personal shade. Anytime I do my makeup, y'all, this is like a phenomenon. Anytime I do my makeup, my nose runs. What is that? So I also have this, And this is just a contour palette, powder contour palette that when I did makeup, like this in every shade stayed in my kit. Is so amazing for black girls. And so I just kind of keep this. We're not using a lot of powder. I will basically take this and bounce back and forth between the contour and the sculpt shade to get like a really nice blend, because one is too light and one is kind of too dark. But I will just kind of like reinforce my contour. That's what this is for. Sometimes like through the highlight or whatever, or like sometimes I will blend to oblivion and then like my contour is gone. Like it's not as noticeable as I would like for it to be. So that's kind of where I will take this powder. And I mean, just like the sheerest layer, I will just kind of like press this in exactly where I like want to see it at, and where I pretty much had the other contour at, the liquid contour. So it's essentially like if you were to set the liquid contour that we already did. That's kind of what this step is. And it's like you want to do this after you've already put the powder, like your skin tone powder on top, because it's like kind of your final step in your blend, you know? And then like sometimes I like to like define that by just literally taking my sponge and dragging it so that you get a little bit more of a distinction. See how this side is like super blended, but right here you can kind of see that distinction. It's literally just with whatever residue of concealer is left on my sponge. That's what I do it with. So, and when you blend like this too, like you don't get like a harsh line, you know? Like you should never see a harsh line. I know I said this earlier, but like if you see and it looks like somebody had a piece of paper and they like blend it, like that's, babes, like nobody's doing makeup like that. Like nobody, not in 2023, like nobody's doing them harsh lines. Like that's gotta go. It's a little dated. My personal opinion, in my humble opinion. Humble, but like not humble, because I worked in the industry for 10 years, but like my humble opinion. You know what I'm saying? So next, now that we've kind of like refined our contour, we are ready to kind of move on to blush. So I'm gonna be using, I guess I never really realized how many Anastasia products I use. But I did work for the brand for 3 years, so it's kind of like making sense. But I will just be using this. They have a cream blush. This is in the shade Peach Caramel. So again, we're staying in those like autumn tones. This is kind of what the shade looks like. Very, very pretty. So I have fallen in love with cream blush. Like it's kind of my jam. So what I do is just kind of come here on the cheek and I lay the shade, right? Immediately, you can see it. Immediately I take it, turn it around, we're stippling. We're like, you know, making sure that it's placed exactly where we want to see it at. Boom, blush. Same thing on this side. I'm positioning the blush like on the apple of my cheek, moving up, kind of like riding the line of diffusion between my concealer and the contour. So starting here and then just kind of like, because your blush kind of serves as a transition into that contour. So then flip it. It has like a really nice little stippling brush on the end. So you'll just flip it and then stipple. Very, very easy. Like literally, I think that liquids and creams have, in my opinion, like a smaller learning curve than like using powder. That's just my personal opinion. Again, I keep my sponge handy, so like I'm just going to make sure this is hyper blended. Also, my sponge kind of takes that like sticky texture off of the blush. So same thing with like all the other liquids that we've done. I like to reinforce my blush. Like a liquid or cream blush can move. It's a liquid layer, so I do like to like really set it with the powder. And it's a great way to actually like change the tonality if you want to. It's a great way to intensify the tonality if you want to. So for me, I'll be using this MAC blush in the shade Ambering Rose. So as you can see, very similar tonality to this, to the eye. Still going with that like monochromatic look. I'm gonna take such a little amount. Like I'm tapping like 3 times on each side. That's about it. And then reinforce. Boom, we're done. Like see how that little amount really reinforced the blush? You can see it so much more on this side. So I'm gonna flip my brush now, and same thing. Reinforce the blush, set it if you will. Boom. I still like to make sure there's no harsh lines, so I'll kind of like go back, blend this with the sponge. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. I love this. Look how cute it is. Last thing that we're on to is lip. So for my lip, I use 3 items for this lip look. We're gonna have a liner, a actual lipstick, and then like a topper gloss. So first things first, I have this NYX liner in the shade Espresso. NYX has like such good liners, and they be mad cheap. Like, I don't know how the other makeup companies can even compete. So I'm gonna start by lining my lips. Obviously, I'm not gonna talk during this process. Okay, so I laid my lip liner down. As you can see, like, when I do my lip liner right, sometimes I'm like, I don't even need lipstick. Like, this is beautiful. So just a couple tips and tricks, because I wasn't able to talk while I was applying my lip liner, but I do kind of like line it around, but then like in the corners of my cupid's bow and kind of like out here, I'll kind of add a little bit more product and blend. It's kind of my way of like getting around needing a lip brush. I'll kind of just like glide on the side. So we're gonna go in with this lipstick. It's called CREMESHEEN. It is like called, it is a cream sheen, so it's a very creamy type of lip product, lipstick. And then it's also called Coral Bliss. So again, keeping with that same type of like coral vibe. So with this, it can be very intense. So I usually will lay it, right? And then blend. I'm not necessarily applying on each, like the top and the bottom. I'll apply on the bottom and then just kind of blend, because I don't want too much color payoff. But this is low-key stunning. See how it's like you get that pink tonality? The same thing that you have in the eye, the same thing that you have in the cheek. That's kind of what a monochromatic look is. It's hues of the same type of shade, like replicated all over the face, on the eye, the lip, on the cheek. But I, with this look, really enjoy like a glossy, juicy look. So I'm gonna go in with the shade Parfait lip gloss from ABH. She's the winner today. So with this, less is more. It's a very like, while it's a very glossy shade, it's also very shimmery. That's maybe not necessarily always like, I don't want hella, like, I don't want it to look frosty. So that's why I kind of only do a couple little dabs. Sometimes my lip liner can get lost after all the products. So I do like to sometimes come in and like reinforce that, because I like a very like lined lip. Okay. Lastly, we're gonna go ahead and, depending on the look that you want, you can decide like how you want to finish the look. So sometimes like if I know I'm about to go out, or like I need this look to last, obviously I'm gonna go in with my all-nighter from UD Urban Decay. I haven't been able to get my hands on the One Size Patrick Star spray, but I hear that that setting spray is God. For me, I really have been enjoying this like semi-radiant, semi-dewy look. So I'm actually going to use my Tatcha spray and go in with that. I'm just gonna help it out a little bit. And we're good to go. Okay girl, that is it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, seeing how I was able to achieve my makeup looks. Obviously, everything will be linked down below. If there's anything that you want to see, for instance, like I said, if you want to see how I do my brows off camera, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to make a video, upload it. Girl, I have 31 videos to make, so please give me some ideas. I'm gonna be tired out here. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. It would mean so much to me if you would just take 5 seconds, smash that subscribe button, make sure that you are subscribed so that you can see every single Vlogtober video that I upload, because I'm actually really excited. I think they're gonna be a lot of fun. Also, don't forget to smash that bell notification so that you get notified whenever I do upload the Vlogtober videos. So I'll be seeing you guys quite a bit this month. I will chat with you tomorrow. Bye.